Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. We are swinging out to the Show Me State of Missouri. We've got Steve Jones on the call this week. Steve, welcome to the Team Equinety Podcast.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to tell my story. It's been interesting.
Yeah, I tell you, when we saw this story and saw the pictures, the first picture is just downright heartbreaking. I mean, there's no other way to put that. But the transformation is absolutely incredible. So you've been around horses for 18 years. Just a little bit of your background, and mainly trail horses is kind of what you've been involved with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So give us some insight. Now, this horse, severe founder, abscesses, and I'm sure some other things going on there, but give us the backstory on this horse, and then what happened. Just as we were talking, it's just like the wheels kind of just fell off. But give us some backstory here on this horse.
Sure. So this horse, I started under saddle when she was 2, and for a lady who used her for a trail horse until now, 14, and she retired from horses. And so I was able to obtain her from this lady. And when I went to get her, I hadn't seen Lena for a while. And so when I went over to pick her up, she was like obese. And I thought, wow, this girl's heavy. So
yeah.
we got her in the trailer, and she was a little sore, but she was manageable, So we brought her home. She had to go on a diet. We took her off of the grass and put her in a dry lock, and with just some maintenance feed, and then we rode her, pretty hard, because she needed to lose some weight, and I don't know if it was just the stress from the move, the weight loss, maybe being somewhat insulin resistant already. Anyway, all of it combined, she came up lame one day, and we're trying some different things, put some boots on her to see if that helped, and it wasn't helping. So we figured she's probably abscessed. So we let her rest a little bit, and then she got worse, and on the one foot, it was just, she couldn't carry it around. And then it got a little better, but she went lame on the other foot then. And she's losing weight this whole time. Finally, she just ended up laying down one day, and my daughter was watching her while we were gone out of town. She said she laid down, she's not getting up. But she would eat, and she wouldn't even get up to eat. We had to put her food down by her head, and she would just lay there and eat and wouldn't get up. And so after 3 months of having her, she lost 500 pounds.
Oh my gosh!
From laying down, she lost her hair on her hips. She had sores. You couldn't get your hand width between her front legs. And this was a stout girl, but her front legs, her chest had just gone down to nothing. And and plus her feet were you could tell they already had started rotating. Her hooves, you could tell by her hooves. And then sores all over.
Yeah.
I mean, she just looked, like you said, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what to do. I mean, I called another horse trainer in the area, and he's a farrier as well, and he came out and gave her some butte or something. Anyway, put some special shoes on her, and that didn't help any. We had to pull the shoes, and she just was helpless.
Wow.
It was scary.
Yeah.
It was bothering to us.
Yeah, I mean, for you to be around horses for 18 years, I mean, had you ever seen anything comparable to this happening?
I not at all. Not even remotely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen horses with, they had laminitis, and at some point in their life they had, rotated. I had seen stories of, horses that foundered, and they'd have to put them down.
Yep.
But I'd never seen them like this. I mean, it wasn't just that her feet, that she'd foundered in her feet. It was her whole body. She probably had ulcers, because we were on 4 grams of butte a day for a while, just to get her to stand up.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Yeah. So it literally
she probably had ulcers too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so it just sounds like complete wheels fell off and deterioration happening right before your eyes.
Quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, just like that.
Yeah, and then you had tried to get an X-ray as well?
Yeah, so the vet came out, and we got her up, and which was a chore. And in the process of getting the X-ray on the feet, we got one X-ray, which was real quick, and she went to fall down. And I mean, that's the best we could do. There was no way we could get her back up to do another X-ray, but it showed rotation, a considerable rotation, and the other one we knew had also. We really didn't have to have an X-ray.
Right.
We knew what had happened, but yeah, both feet had rotated and probably sunk, both of them as well. So it was a bad case of founder.
Yeah. So after trying to get the X-ray or getting the one X-ray, then what was your plan at this point?
So after that, we the vet said you really need to consider, putting her to sleep. So because she had been bred, and by this time I'm pretty sure she had lost her baby. She lost her baby at some point during that time, but I don't know when it was. But early on, we didn't know if she had lost it yet or not. So I really don't want to put her down yet, because of what if she does have the baby, and so. But I also knew what kind of condition she's in.
Right.
So I told her, I said, we'll give her 1 month, and see what happens. And if she's not any better, then we'll put her down. And in the month, and of course about that time is when I came across the Equinety.
Yeah. Now, how did you find out about and we're specifically talking about the Equinety Horse Excel. How did you come across that?
Well, that was interesting because I of course, my daughter and another lady, I've worked with her horses a little bit, and especially this other lady came to me first. She said, "Have you ever heard of Equinety?" And I said, "No, I haven't." She said, "Well, I saw an ad on Facebook for it, and it sounds like it might be something that your horse could benefit from." I said, "Well, I'll look into it." And so I think it was the same day my daughter called and said, "Have you ever heard of Equinety?"
It might be a sign.
I said, "Well, Terry just told me about it earlier today." She said, "Well, I saw a Facebook ad on it, and it really looks interesting. That maybe that might be something to look into." So I said, well, and so I told her I'd look into it. Well, that evening I was online and on Facebook, and I saw a Facebook ad for Equinety.
Oh gosh.
So I don't know how it got blitzed at our place. Somewhere the logarithm did something.
Yeah.
But so I looked at it and did a little bit of research that evening and ordered it and started that week. I started her on Equinety. I also went to I'd put her on some because by now I'm taking her off of all feed, but I had to give her some supplements. So I was in at the co-op getting some supplements, and I got to talking to the lady in there about condition, what was going on, and she told me, she said, you really ought to try Equinety.
Oh my gosh.
I said I've already ordered it.
Oh man.
It's gonna be here. It's gonna be here this week.
That
so
is hilarious. Oh my gosh. So I'm looking. I actually just looked up the order date. So that was August 29th of 2021. Is when you ordered that. Yep.
Yep. And by the end of September, the 1st of October was when I decided this is going to be one way or another. And then about that, towards the end of that, I had a farrier that was recommended to me by my training friend, farrier, which the farrier, he was lost. He didn't know what else to do. He didn't know.
Yep.
So he referred me to a specialist, a farrier down here that not far from here that he specializes in hoof support systems. So all kinds of, and he probably told me they probably would cast the feet and put some special shoes on and all of this stuff. And he comes up and looks at them and he says, well, whatever you're doing, you've probably saved this horse's life. He says, this horse is growing her feet out and healing her own feet. And this is at the end of this month.
So
and which made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And of course I'd done, some barefoot trimming and, some special trimming for this. But then he told me, he says, I'll tell you what, there's a product, he says, I've run across from some people that say it's just miraculous. And I have seen their feet have grown hoof walls that were just dream. It's called Equinety.
Oh.
I said, she's been on it a month.
Oh my gosh. That is something. So let's back up just a minute here. So you got the Equinety, and so within 30 days is when this new specialist farrier had looked at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when he's like, whatever you're doing, keep doing, because the sole depth and the overall hoof growth is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said don't touch it right now for 6 weeks, the bottom. Don't touch the bottom, because she had dropped it. It was bulging. The actually sole had detached completely from the hoof wall, so there was just pus seeping all around the hoof wall. So it had solar abscess that was completely covering the inside of the hoof, the sole.
Yeah, no wonder.
It had bulged and concaved. So he said, don't touch it. He says, she's healing. She's healing. And so it was a real encouragement.
Yeah, well,
to see that,
and then hearing it from three other people at different times.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and one of the things, as we were talking before we jumped on the podcast here, you were telling me that you didn't, because you're around the horse every single day, you weren't necessarily seeing changes going on, but your daughter was popping in. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's hard when you're seeing anything. I mean, if you're doing weight loss, you don't see day by day changes. And so I just see her every day, and it was sometimes hours a day just trying to treat her, just, rewrapping feet and medicating feet and, just everything I could do to keep her comfortable. And, so I wasn't seeing everything, but then she would show up and say, "Oh, Dad," she said, she's looking so much better. And then she would point out, parts of the body, because her top line had completely sunk in between her chest. She'd lost all muscle in between her chest. It was a hand width. You couldn't get a hand width between her chest. Now there's like 2.5 hand widths in between her chest. But she would point some of these things out. So I'm concentrating on the feet.
Right.
That's what I'm working with constantly. And she says, no, she was telling me, you got to notice, look at the hair where it's growing back. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Some of these other things that's happening that's visible, but it was hard for me to see things because I was just focused on the feet.
Sure.
But her feet was also getting better.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just took a little longer for me to see that, and probably took the special farrier to help me see what was happening too.
Yep. Absolutely.
With the feet. But her hair was growing back quickly.
Yeah.
And
that is something. Well, I tell you what, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, maybe you're looking for something to really help your horse from the inside out. The Equinety Horse Excel, we've been on the market now going on 8 years, and it's 100% pure amino acids. There's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. So it's just a tiny little scoop, 5.2 grams, which is about like a teaspoon. You just give it once a day. There's no loading dose, as I mentioned. However, with an injured horse or working performance horse, or one that you're trying to get, keep the recovery strong, you can give a scoop in the morning and a scoop in the evening, and it helps keep the hormone levels elevated. And how that actually works, the amino acids are specifically designed to rapidly absorb, and it stimulates the pituitary gland, which is a gland in the body that releases repairing hormones. And when this happens, which it happens within hours, then the body is able to send its own hormones to its own problem areas. And so this is why it works in so many ways. I tell people all the time, it's not a miracle supplement, but you hear stories like this and you got to scratch your head a little bit. It's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, because there are so many stories like this, and, mystery lameness things. And, when you've tried everything else and don't know what to try. And, even Steve, based on 3 recommendations from people, the word is getting out that, hey, you know what, if you don't know what else to try, then give the Equinety Horse Excel a try. And of course, hopefully you don't wait until, you're in a desperate situation, because the earlier you can start it. We have a lot of people that use it as a preventative. And so it'll, keep a lot of this stuff at bay. Although, Mother Nature has her way of doing things as well. So sometimes you can't combat Mother Nature, the inevitable. But so this is just really remarkable, this story. And I'm going to, on our website at teamequinety.com, I'll have this podcast transcribed, and then I'm going to post the before and after pictures. What was the time frame in the before and after picture? Was it 30 days, 60 days? What was that time frame?
Boy, it would have been a little more than 30 days, but
roughly, I mean, probably between
probably 30 to 60 days,
okay,
somewhere in that frame.
Yeah. It's still quite remarkable. Yeah, that before and after, I mean, it really doesn't even look like the same horse. And by now, even she is stunning. Well,
you look at her and she's back to the most beautiful coat. I mean, just a beautiful horse again.
Yeah.
You'd have never dreamed that she was in that condition.
Yeah. Well, what I'll have you do is send us an updated picture, and then we can do from starting the Equinety to 30 to 60 day mark. And then now that's kicking up around close to 120 days, maybe to approximately 100 days, somewhere in there. So, so now looking at the horse now, how's the overall demeanor, and and everything.
Well, she loves to eat, and
Don't we all? Don't we all?
and she has gained back out of that 500 pounds. She's probably gained back 2 to 250 of that, which is just about where I want her to be.
Yeah.
You know, you can still see the ribs just a little bit, depending on what angle you're looking at. So she's back actually at a really good, healthy weight. She's strong. Her top line is filled in. She really is. She's got emotionally. She's so much better. But I mean, obviously, with the foundering, you're regrowing a hoof. That takes time.
Yes.
So, but she does have, attached hoof growth, probably a third to a halfway down, which is real encouraging. So she has this past week. I was doing a little trimming, and a large chunk of sole come off, and it really startled me, and caused me to sink, my heart to sink.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh no, this is not what I need. But I packed it anyway, with some packing that I have, and looked at it, and within a couple of days, and took some of that packing out, and that was all new sole under that. So she's just shedding big chunks.
Yes.
Of the old sole now, and she's got sole underneath there that's actually attached to the hoof wall. So
wow,
that was a huge relief.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
But she'll walk around in boots. She can't go barefoot yet because she's still not able to get that C3 bone parallel to the ground yet. So. But she's in boots, and she'll walk around, and and since then, there was one day I was walking her, and we were coming back up the road, and she decided to pick up into a trot.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not used to seeing this, so it's the whole attitude is there. She's not depressed anymore at all.
Yeah, so it sounds like she's feeling really good. And I tell you, if you've got a horse that is a little tender-footed, I mean, we've just heard this over and over and over. Using the Equinety Horse XL, it really helps build that sole depth, and then the overall strength and health of the hoof, which gives the farrier more to work with in a shorter amount of time. And so,
yes.
Yeah. Well, and the secondary product that we have is the Ultimate OEC, which Dr. Zach Brugan out of Arkansas came to us and thought it would be a great combination. So we've been on the market with that a little, about a year, I guess, going on a year. And it's a flaxseed-based omega-3. It's got 1,000 IUs of natural cold-pressed vitamin E and colloidal silver all in one. And the reason why we brought this out was to work in combination with the amino acids. The amino acids are giving the body what it needs to help repair at the cellular level. And the Ultimate OEC gives those repaired cells some nutrition. And it also helps and serves as a really powerful antioxidant, which helps reduce inflammation. And what's really neat about your story, Steve, is, you've only been using the Equinety Horse XL, and you've seen these massive changes just since 1st of September, which at the time of this recording, we're in December. So, that's not very long to see those kind of changes just using the one product. So,
right.
I'd love to maybe do a recap sometime next year because I know you're going to be adding the Ultimate OEC with that. So we'd love to hear what the combination of those would be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But awesome. Well, Steve Jones out of Missouri, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story here on the Team Equinety Podcast.
And thank you again. I honestly have to tell you, it really did save my horse's life. That is the truth.
Yeah, that is incredible.
So thank you for allowing me to tell that story, because it's amazing.
Absolutely.
So,
well, yeah, that's it's amazing. Of course, you know that firsthand.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right, Steve. Well, thank you so much. We sure do appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
That's
Bye-bye.
all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.